إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters, we all face tests of varying degrees and hardship. So I wanted to remind myself first, all of us together. And what I wanted to do actually, because I was speaking of the incident of the ifk, the slander against our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, last two khutbas, I wanted to use the same incident because there are some lessons, nice lessons regarding that. So kind of final session in this series. So to begin with, brothers and sisters, as we know, I won't repeat the whole story. I've done it twice now. But we know that our mother Aisha was slandered. There was no evidence for it. It was a very difficult time for her and for her whole family. Even some Muslims, prominent Muslims, even fell into this trap of actually propagating it. So we cannot imagine how difficult it was for a very young, she said herself, I was very young at the time. This is a tremendously huge test, especially for a woman to face this kind of slander. So we have to kind of put ourselves in that, to understand these lessons that, it's a huge test, okay? And we use that as a lesson reminder for our own. Now I said last week, came to her and said, if you are innocent, Allah will acquit you. Otherwise, you will have to beg Allah for forgiveness and for His pardon. Now, what I'm going to say is a little bit obvious, okay? But, brothers and sisters, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is comforting her. And she felt comforted to the point where, as I said last week, she was crying and crying and crying. She stopped crying. She felt relieved. Once again, it's obvious that for our loved ones, when they're facing a test or a big difficulty, that we remind them with good words from our Deen of Islam. But brothers and sisters, sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget. The person who is going through that difficulty, especially if it's very intense, they themselves know that they're supposed to have Saba. They're supposed to have Saba. They might forget. We're all human beings. So sometimes hearing those words that they already know will be beneficial. I know I benefit from that. I benefit from that many times. When I hear from someone else, it has an impact. Even they're telling me the same thing that I already know. I have maybe a good story that fits in this situation as an example. There was a brother that I know well. He went through a severe trauma. It was a very difficult time for him. His doctor told him that if you do not get psychiatric help, you're going to end up developing PTSD or some sort of mental illness or whatever it is. You need psychiatric treatment for this problem. He said the situation was so hard. Forget about, having a headache and pain and not being able to eat and not being able to drink anything. In that state, he said his brain is on fire. Didn't understand what's going on. His brain is not hurting. It feels like it's on fire. Yet he refused the treatment. I'm not saying to refuse, I'm saying this particular brother, why did he refuse? He said, because he knows his family. He knows his family is going to use the exact words that he needs to hear about Allah, about having Sabr, although he knows Sabr, he knows Allah himself. Okay? But he needs to hear it from others. He needs to hear it from anybody, especially his loved one. He needs to hear words not just about Sabr, that this is because we know that a test is good for us. I know it's easy to say that, but it's very difficult. But a reminder that this is a test, and there's going to be benefits from the test. His family is going to tell him, listen, your character is going to become stronger. Imagine if you get through this, how much your Islamic personality is going to be stronger. And it wasn't just a few words, it was over and over and over again, over days and days and days. Alhamdulillah, that brother didn't need any other. I know this is obvious. We all have our friends and relatives when they're in a problem, even those who aren't related to us. But just as a reminder for us to be ready. Sometimes when we're needed, we may not be ready. We have to know things like what Rasulullah said, Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yusibhu, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends good for us, He afflicts us with trials. This is a very few words, but very beneficial when we're going through hardship. It's saying that, you're going through hardship, yes, but it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for you. That's an important reminder in this situation. So we may forget. The one who's going through that may forget. Also about relying on imams, no problem. But there's not enough imams for the population. They're already busy doing counseling and things like that. Of course, they'll help if they can, but sometimes it's overwhelming. So it's good for us to be ready. I'm not saying just for family members, but for each other, whether we know or not. We have to comfort each other like it's in our deen of Islam. The second point, brothers and sisters, and this is nice for the youth, it's good for parents, good reminder. Aisha said in her narration that she was very young at the time. And to give an example of how young she was, she actually said she did not know the name of the father of Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay? That's why she was saying to herself, I didn't know too much going on at the time. But in reality, brothers and sisters, compared to today, kids of that age or youth of that age, she knew a lot. She knew a lot by then. Not only had it memorized, but she understood and she knew how to apply it. She knew how to apply it at that age. So the reminder is, it's an opportunity for you youth that are here to be like that. Your minds are young, like hers was. She memorized. Okay? She had it memorized, all right, the Quran, and she could pull it up, so you can do the same. Parents, you can encourage your children. Now, why am I saying this? Why was she talking about the father of Yusuf, alayhi salam? Because she was, from her mind, her memory, she pulled out an ayah that helped her in that situation. It reminded her of her being in the same situation as the father of Yusuf, alayhi salam. But she didn't know the name of Yaqub, alayhi salam. So she recited, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. So she repeated what Yaqub alayhi salam said when the sons came to him, informing him that Yusuf alayhi salam has been devoured or eaten by a wolf. So he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. So she said that she was able to pull it from memory, And at that time, the Quran was not in the book and definitely not on these devices. Now that you can search for it. She was able to pull that out. Now, would you parents be proud of your children if they face a test? Would you be proud of them if for the exact situation, a test they're facing, they could go deny it for their own comfort? I'm sure we would all be proud. Now, what about Sabr and Jameel? Now, Aisha, being young, she knows that she's facing a test, and she already knows at a young age that the remedy for the test, the only remedy she has is to have so she knows she has no control. Her test was very difficult. Some tests, you may lose your job. It's a test. But you see that if you struggle and search and search and search, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets a job. But this test is even more difficult. There is nothing for her. She doesn't even have a witness. She's helpless. So she knows all she has here is at that young age. And she's reminding herself about Sabr and Jameel. Why? Because the books of Tafsir say, Yaqub alayhi salam saying Sabr and Jameel, because he wants to have Sabr without feeling a single hint of displeasure, without a single complaint in it. Wants to have perfect Sabr, let's say. That's why it's called Jameel, beautiful, best Sabr. That's the best Sabr to have. That's what she reminded herself with the Quran. And when she recited that to herself, she did indeed find comfort in her situation. She said, this reflects my situation. So she knows a number of things. She knows that. So many brothers and sisters may not know that. Okay? Or we may forget that. When the time comes, she remember that. She recited an ayah from memory related to that. So it says she in her narration she said that when I recited that, then another thing happened. Look at what's going on. She said that at that moment that she recited these words from the Quran, without Rasulullah having moved, or anyone have left, right away he received wahy, revelation about her innocence in the Quran. 10 ayats revealed, not just one ayat. 10 ayats revealed about her innocence right at that moment. So brothers and sisters, this is a big lesson, at least to me, to all of us, both to the youth sitting here. This is a big message here. You're all going to face tests. This is a beautiful example of how we face. It is, I know, very difficult, not easy. We're human beings. And it's a high-level example. We cannot match them, but it's at least a goal to survive and to shoot for. So, brothers and sisters, the other thing is, actually, I'll continue in a second. We're moving ahead. Brothers and sisters, the other thing, when the Quran was revealed about her, she was surprised. She never thought, never came, not a single thought came to her that the Quran would come about the situation. She was just praying that Rasulullah sees a dream about her innocence, that's it. She says in the books of Sirah, it says that she thought herself to be too insignificant that the Quran would be revealed about her. This is the mother of the believer. This is her status. This is the wife of Rasulullah who says, I take myself as insignificant, that the Quran should be revealed about me. So, brothers and sisters, the message I get from this is, somebody like her feeling insignificant, feeling humble, having humility, despite her status in the Ummah. The message for me, at least, is I should feel insignificant. There is no way I can have, for any reason, no matter how much money I may have or whatever I have, that I should feel any kind of pride
or any kind of arrogance or anything like that, I should feel it. So the point is, brothers and sisters, how many, for example, husbands are there that feel proud of what they are, they feel superior for some reason? Maybe they have a lot of money, maybe they have a lot of education, maybe they're from a certain tribe that's superior to the wife's tribe or lineage. So therefore they act proud and arrogant or whatever. So many problems sometimes because. But let us understand, and I see real situation opposite, where the wife feels superior to her husband because she's from a so-called superior lineage, so-called superior tribe. This stuff was eliminated at the beginning of her. Or she has whatever she has, big education, whatever, so she feels superior to the husband, treats him accordingly, puts him down, whatever it is. Doesn't go one way. There's examples both ways. Or what about even students of knowledge? Students of knowledge. They're supposed to be humble. They study for 6 months, they study for 1 year, study for 2 years, even part-time, okay? And, they think they know everything, okay? And they act all proud. They start acting all proud because they think they have knowledge. They studied for 2 years. I would say to them, brother, you're 20 years plus away from being an alim. At least 20 years. Full time, by the way, not part. But they act like they would also. A few examples, not just these are the only examples. But we should follow the example of Mother Aisha. The other thing is business, we all know this again, but it's a minor report. That as we saw in the situation, sometimes our test, our difficulty, our hardship comes from our own Muslim brothers and sisters. We all know. I know it's sad and it hurts. Sometimes it comes not just from Muslim community or Muslim brothers and sisters. Sometimes it comes from our own family, our own family. Sadly enough, let us not be one of those. Let us not be one of those. And I know it hurts, but let us, take it in a positive way. Without them, we wouldn't be facing a test. And if we're not facing a test, we're not getting all the benefits. And as we said, this was a beautiful example of Abu Bakr forgiving his relative. He was one of the participants. So maybe we can even try to forgive if we want, like we have. Final few words for this is that, as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told in the ayat that it is, do not think it's bad for you, in fact, it is good for you. So this is one of the benefits of the test. Aisha went through it. But there were benefits. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. The Quran, not just one ayat, 10 ayat were revealed about her innocence. Proven completely 100%, more than 100%. Then how many Muslims, believers, will recite those ayat from that time until the day of judgment? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala definitely after a test gives huge benefits. Huge benefits. This is one example, specific example, I know, but we'll all get something, inshallah, from this. If we just get through the test, meaning just have sabr and don't complain against those. So, in other words, once again, easy to say, the tests are good news that they give bad. Now, we should take it with the bad. We have to teach our children that. Because we cannot protect them from tests. Rasulullah could not stop the test on his own. Revelation. He had to watch his wife Aisha suffer. He had to watch his own wife suffer. We may have to watch our own children going through a test. So the best we can do, we cannot end the test, but we can teach them how to handle this test. And there's this example and so many more. And we have to make sure we leave them with that because we're not going to be with them, throughout their entire life, most likely. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us work and remind myself let us remember our brothers and sisters in our dua that are suffering all over the world who are oppressed, going through tremendous tests and difficulties. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their pains and their suffering. Oh, Allah Ta'ala في كتابه الكريم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. أول قلوبنا إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر الله. الله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك ذكرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك الله. سمع الله لمن حمده الله. الله الله الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله. الله Allah. Allah.